Welcome to the TracVision A5 rack mount installation. Our objective here is straightforward. We need to permanently lock this satellite antenna to your vehicle's roof rack crossbars so it stays perfectly stable at highway speeds. This unit weighs 48 pounds. To safely get it onto the roof without dropping the hardware or scratching the vehicle's paint, you will need a second person to help you lift it. Before you lift, check your vehicle's roof rack crossbars. They must be locked in at exactly 35.5 inches apart, measured from center to center. You'll also need to prep your tools. Grab a 1/4 inch driver, a standard hex socket driver, or a T27 Torx bit if your kit has older hardware, and a pair of heavy-duty wire cutters. Nailing down these measurements and having the right tools ready ensures that a heavy, expensive piece of equipment remains securely attached, rather than becoming a hazard on the road. Step 1 happens on the ground. Find the extra serial number sticker taped to the antenna, peel it off, and place it directly onto the red activation card. You will need this exact number to activate the receiver later. Skipping this step means a frustrating climb back up to the roof just to read a barcode. Next, attach a mounting bracket to each of the 4 corners on the underside of the base. Note that recent installation kits have swapped the old Torx screws for standard hex socket hardware. If you have a version B antenna with an exposed recessed connector, there is an extra requirement. You must install a 1-inch screw and a flat washer into the center of each bracket to properly distribute the load and prevent structural failure. Finally, use your heavy-duty cutters to snip and remove all the shipping restraints from underneath the antenna. Taking care of this precise assembly and recording the serial data down here means you won't be struggling with small screws or blind spots once the hardware is up on the vehicle. Now it's time for the lift. Working closely with your assistant, gently raise the unit and place it dead center across the roof rack's crossbars. Before you secure anything, verify the orientation. The antenna cable connector must face the rear of the vehicle. This prevents high-pressure rainwater and highway wind from forcing their way into the connection. Inside the brackets, you'll find rubber cushions. Adjust their positions on the pegs so they mold perfectly to the shape of your specific crossbars. You want the maximum possible surface area gripping the metal. Next, measure the vertical clearance between the lowest point of the antenna base and your vehicle's roof. This step must measure an absolute minimum of 1 inch. Your vehicle's chassis naturally flexes as you drive, and aerodynamic downforce pushes the unit lower at highway speeds. If you don't maintain that 1-inch buffer, the antenna will repeatedly strike and dent your roof. Proper placement sets up a necessary dynamic buffer zone that protects both the hardware and your car. If your measurement shows less than 1 inch of clearance, you have to add height to the brackets. To do this, temporarily remove the small screws holding the factory-installed plastic spacers to the metal brackets. Take a second spacer from your kit pack and sandwich it between the original spacer and the bracket. Secure them both back together using the longer screws provided in the kit. With all brackets elevated, measure the gap again to guarantee you've hit the 1-inch threshold. The hardware gives you this modular option so you can adapt to different roof profiles safely and correctly. Now we lock it down. Position a retaining plate directly underneath the crossbar at each bracket. Carefully align the swivel nuts with the captive holes. Always use the exact correct hardware, 2-inch screws for a standard setup, and 2.5-inch screws for extra spacers. Drive the screws in until the rubber cushions compress firmly against both the top and the bottom of the crossbars. Snap the protective plastic covers onto the clamps to shield the hardware. The larger covers fit onto the rear brackets, and the smaller ones go on the front. Proper torque and cushion compression successfully merges the antenna to your vehicle's frame as a single unit. Check your work with a rigorous physical wiggle test. Grip the antenna base and push. You are checking to ensure there is absolutely no play or shifting between the clamps and the crossbars. If the unit holds firm against the push, the physical mounting phase of your installation is a success. Your next step is to route the data cable down from the roof and into the vehicle. You've built the solid, secure foundation required to protect the sensitive electrical wiring phase that comes next.